Oh my God, the layered question. So I am a recording artist. My name is Miss Velvet. I was recently in a band called Miss Velvet and the Blue Wolf. Well, I guess recently, that's pre-pandemic. Oh God. And now I moved out to California. I was a born and bred New Yorker. Moved out to California midway through the pandemic. And that happened because I got pregnant. So I was on tour with George Clinton and Parliament Funkadelic for a good part of 3 years. So it was like 150 shows.
Yeah.
And then the pandemic hit, and I thought I was going back out on tour. Like, I think everyone in the world was like, oh, it'll be a month. And, 2 years later, two
Yes.
children later,
Oh my
um, yeah, so a lot has changed, and it's been such a wild kind of adventure and amazing to be out here in Cali, and to team up with amazing new musicians and write this solo record. So this will be my first solo record. And previously, before, I had two records with the band. So I'm so thrilled and excited to get my voice and my story out there into the world.
my goodness. That is oh my gosh, that's like a novel in itself right there.
I was like, how should I break this down? There's a lot of pieces.
There's so many layers. Oh my goodness. Not only have you been like on tour with George Clinton for 150 plus shows, and then to be like, you know what? I'm gonna move to California, and then you know what? I'm just gonna also have kids. Like the
Well,
extra layer into all that.
the also have kids was definitely unexpected. Um,
Oh,
yeah, so it was definitely a surprise. But it was really just such a, I don't like, eye-opening moment for me, because I think we've never really experienced something where the world actually pauses and the
yeah,
world actually stops. So it gave me such a unique period in time to really dive into motherhood, and to really explore that to its fullest. And so by the time I got out to California, I was already a year into being a new and a fresh mom. And it was cool to bring all of that into the story for this record. So to really kind of talk about, coming off tour as a rock and roll artist and then diving into motherhood and now getting back into, mental, physical, spiritual shape of going back out on the road again with this record and touring this new record. So it's kind of been this all encompassing story in the record of how to rock star, mother, back to rock star. So there's
yeah.
so many cool facets to that, and I think we explore those themes in the record too. So it's cool.
So with that in mind, having that moment of taking a pause and being able to enjoy motherhood and be able to enjoy that pause,
Yeah.
has there been moments getting in back into the industry where you're like, maybe I should, take a little bit longer break?
I mean, there's definitely those scary moments where, you're like, how am I going to balance this? How am I
Yeah.
actually going to do both things? Um, and I just feel like I've had some other mothers be like, it's one foot in front of the other. It's every day at a time. And I think one of the biggest things was surrounding myself with, people in the industry that get the family life, that understand that. And my producer, SJ, who produced and we co-wrote every single song together on this record, when she found out I was pregnant, she was like, all right, awesome. So let me come to the house. Let me live with you for like 3 to 4 days a week. Let's write this record in your house, like these old school bands from the 70s. Like, let's live
Yeah.
together. Let's talk about all the stuff that's going on with you day to day. So that was something that was definitely a new experience for me, to kind of go back and feel like and transport ourselves to that special classic rock era where you used to like live with it. Like people live together, you know,
Yeah.
musicians live together, and they would just write a song, like wake up in the morning, we would sit outside, like have some coffee, write a song. Then I was like, you know, playing with my children, and then I'd go back outside and write it like different part of the song with her. So it was kind of multitasking and figuring out for myself, okay, I can balance this. I can do it. I can. So that was something that I was scared in the beginning. But also it was just so empowering. Like she's such a badass woman herself that she got it and she wasn't afraid of that. So it was really special. And that dynamic that her and I have is just, it's so cool to have someone support you in that corner, you know, when you're doing that.
And I love that she was just like, all right, at home service, we'll get the shit done.
Yeah. You know,
And with
I
that,
was nervous because I was like in New York, I would always just like meet, you know, writers or producers or band members at like little hole in the wall places all over the city. And we would just run around and like get all that done. And out here, it was like, okay, I have to change. I have to shift that. And it was just amazing that she was just like, yeah, I'm down for it. And like, let's get the musicians to come to the house. And like, you know, you're a new mom and let's figure it out. So it was really special. It was really cool.
you know, it's like I've always heard, being from New York, you have lived that constant busy life and then be able to go to California and realize that everything runs at this nice slow pace, that it changes the atmosphere of how you think. It's such a cool experience. I've only been to California like once for like 5 days, but I definitely feel it
You
even
feel
then.
the energy there, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It feels slow, but it's set like nice like realization of, oh, okay, I think I got this. All right.
Yeah.
It's such a weird feeling. And with that in mind, um, it brings you back to that like the time period of, being in a live-in band, which created this fantastic song, Loving in the Afternoon.
Yeah.
I want to know what came out of that experience of in the process of writing that song.
So that was actually the last song on the record, and we were just speaking about like women that feel powerful in their own skin to go out and get what they want, whether that is a fling, an afternoon delight, a one night stand, or something more serious, or a love affair. And I feel like it's always kind of the male vibe of that. And we wanted to flip it on its head and have it coming from a woman that they are powerful in their own skin to go get what they need and get what they want. So it was cool. It started with just a really kind of simple rock and roll guitar riff. And after we wrote that riff, we were like, here comes the chorus. It kind of just started to write itself. And it was the last song, and it ended up being the first song that we wanted to lead with because it was just feel good, fun, empowering, and really expressive. So yeah, we're excited.
Gosh, I honestly, I've been listening to it for the last couple of days.
Yes!
Since our first reschedule, I've been listening to it, and I'm like, damn. It brings me, gosh, I hate to call it dad garage music for me, but it brings that like combination of like Poison and Guns N' Roses vibes to me, and I'm like, fuck, all right. Do you want? I might have to share this with my father. Fuck, what is he gonna do?
By the way, I love that. Share that with your dad. Let's get the Guns N' Roses fans.
That was like the first thought when I heard it. I was like, oh shit, oh my gosh. And then like I didn't put two to two together, and I'm like, it's a great song. I love the flow of it.
Thank you.
And something that you could definitely be able to rock around while you're going to the grocery store and grabbing.
I know. I feel like that song makes everything feel really empowered. You're like, I'm gonna go to the store. Yes, like
I will get the last of the avocados if it's
exactly. I'm gonna take a really powerful walk. Like it's just. But I'm glad it's making. Those are the kind of feelings. I as an artist, we wait and see like we're releasing this baby into the world. What are people going to feel like? What are they going to feel when they hear this song? It's been cool though, because I've had some awesome like California movement artists and dancers that have hit me up and they've been like, hey, we want to choreograph something to this track. I'm like, hell yeah. So
Yeah.
it's been cool that like that whole scene and movement scene in LA has kind of tapped into that song. And so I think they're going to start like releasing some cool videos soon. And I can't wait to see what their expression is to the song. So it's always so exciting when it's in the beginning, you know, the beginning
Yeah.
process.
Man, I'm over here just being excited for it. Because this is the last song and the first song to come out, I'm curious how the flow is that's going to start from the beginning to that song.
Part of this whole record was really to kind of tell my story of where I'm at right now as a rock and roll artist and a mother. So it's really straddling both worlds. So when you dive into the record, there are a couple ballads on there that are actually dedicated to my daughters. And there's a couple more just, you know, feel good rock and roll jams. And there are some songs about the relationship of my husband and I now. So it just is really kind of what's happening currently at this moment in my life. And I think it's really beautiful, the kind of flow and dynamic of the record. So when the record comes out, I will send it to you. And you'll really get to kind of experience it. It really is kind of like a concept record. And there's a lot of ebbs and flows, and there's some orchestral moments with strings. So it kind of runs the gamut of, you know, my personal journey through music and soundscape, and pulling from classic references from the 70s, some of my favorite bands. So I think it'll be really cool to see what people feel and their interpretation of it. And yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, cannot wait to hear it. I am curious because we mentioned it briefly. So, how did you get on tour with George Clinton? Like, how did that kind of like story came to be on that?
So that was really, I think it's my big musical break. And my booker ended up knowing one of the bookers at BB King's in New York. And it's one of those legendary venues in the middle of Times Square in New York. And our record got sent to him. And he had heard our record. And he said, it was funny, one of the notes that came back through my booker said, this band is great, but can they funk down? Can they get funky? I was like, yes, I can get funky. Like, give me a chance. So they said, listen, come to BB King's. You're going to have a blind audition at sound check. If he digs you, he'll put you on. If not, you know, you came and you played sound check and, you know, pack up and you'll. So we went down to sound check and we start playing one of these jams, and someone from Parliament Funkadelic came out with their phone and they were videotaping the sound check. And now after the fact, I know this, but they went to the trailer of George. George saw the video. So the guy from Parliament Funkadelic comes back and he's like, all right, listen, George digs it, saw the sound check. Now we were supposed to go on at opening of doors. And if you know, you go on at opening of doors, it's not a full house. You're playing for kind of whoever's walking in. So he tells them, yo, I dig them, put them on at my time, put them on at 8 p.m. for the full house. So that's like 2,000 people deep. Okay. Yeah. So we're like, okay. So go on at 8 o'clock, it's sold out, Times Square, New York, crowd goes nuts. We have like the sickest night with him. And the next day we get a call from his booker and he's like, yo, George is heading up to Washington, D.C. You guys want to jump on the show? We're like, fuck yeah. So my band, I remember getting that call and we were in the hotel lobby of one of my bandmates, and literally like my bassist runs outside. He's like circling the lobby. We're like running around with our heads chopped off. We're like, oh my God. We're going to leave that night to go to Washington, D.C., play with George. We play the show with George in Washington, D.C., puts us on again. at his time for like a full house. And I think right then and there, knowing who he is as an artist, there was no ego. He's like, he knows how amazing he is. He knows how good he is. And he was giving this young band a shot. He was like, go do it. Like, been there. And we get a call the next day, and their management is like, George leaves on a Mardi Gras tour, 45 cities. You guys want to get on it? We're like, yes. So we go on that tour with him. And then literally 2 years later, we were playing, like, we did 2 world tours with him, over 100 something shows. So it was, I think, one of the greatest life experiences I've ever had. And to be with such an icon and somebody like that, that was so humble. And he was like, he loves what he does. He loves getting on stage every single night. And it was just joyful. It was like literally joyful to be on the road with this man and teaching us so much, and the showmanship that we all learned. And it was the most powerful, I think, just life lessons and just being with him. And it was one for the books, like mind blowing, truly mind blowing. I'm like going back there in my mind. I'm like, oh God, that was so sick.
My gosh. This is amazing to just know that it's a couple shows and then whoop, just
And
on
I
this
think
magical journey.
it can happen like that. I mean, I say like a couple of shows, but you know, I've been 10 plus years in New York, grinding it out at, like, you know, whatever I could get my hands on, you know, begging venues like, oh, please let me just like play one night. Please let me play one night. And, you know, doing a couple residencies at local haunts in New York that I love. And then you wait for it. You wait for that call, and like knowing someone that knew somebody that knew somebody, and having the faith that, like, hey, maybe this is going to happen, you know? But it's like anything. It's like, I always say 10 years, you're in it, you know, you stick in it long enough, and usually you get that jump off point.
Yeah. And luckily you did. And now you're on a different jump off point with the whole idea of being on your own. I'm always curious as to why did you choose to separate yourself from your group?
I don't even, it wasn't really kind of like a solo choice. It was really, the pandemic was super gnarly for all of us involved. And the band and we all it just kind of fizzled. And I think we had done a great run together. Some of the guys was 7 years together, 10 years together. And I think priorities really changed. You know, the pandemic really changed people's perspectives. Some family life matters, you know, some of them just wanted to literally explore other jobs. It was so, it was really hard. And it was kind of really scary coming out to LA, not knowing anybody in the business. And, you know, I always say to my husband, like, we would drive down the coast here on PCH, and I was like looking at those mountains being like, how the hell am I going to like climb that mountain again? Like, I don't know one person out here. Like, I don't even know where to start. But again, it was just like, I had new management, and they were like, I'm going to introduce you to some people. And I formed this amazing connection with this female rock and roll producer, SJ. And it was like, again, believing that, you know, you're in the right place at the right time. And not being afraid of that. So yeah, it was exactly another jump off point.
So with all that, now you're in California, now with this album almost out. Actually, I don't even know when the release date is. I think end of summer. We're going to release singles and then full album end of summer going into fall. All right. So with that, you're going to get back into potentially touring again. Yes, I actually just got a big offer from this festival called Summit at Sea. And it takes place on Virgin Voyages, the big cruise ship. So it's really cool. I just got that call. So that's going to be my first show back in like 3.5 years. So
the preparation has begun.
Have you done a cruise show before?
No, I haven't. So it's like 4 days off. It leaves from the port of Miami, and it'll be for 4 days, and it's really really cool. They've had some huge acts on there, Eddie Vedder, John Baptista. So it's cool. They've done some amazing lineups. And I just got that call like 2 weeks ago, so I'm stoked.
Really wrap up. I think the big question of the day is what's next?
What's
Besides
next?
the cruise.
I think just releasing each single, coming up to releasing the full record. I have a couple more shows in the works, but I can't name them yet. And just being fully immersed in my body of work. And, I was telling someone the other day, it's like my third child. So, you finish it. And then once you release that into the world, it takes on a life of its own. So I'm ready for it. I have the butterflies, as I usually do. And I'm just excited to see, the reaction and feedback, and, give people the next taste of Miss Velvet in the next iteration. So yes.
Love it. Yay! And then last but not least, where can we be able to find you?
On my socials?
Yes. What are your socials?
Okay. So TikTok is official Miss Velvet, and Instagram is Miss_Velvet. And I'm on all the platforms: Spotify, Apple Music, Deezer, all of it. Come find me.